everyone, Maki here! The G Generation series is a popular series of Gundam games. Since it's developed by Bandai, which owns the rights to the Gundam franchise, it's not uncommon for new Gundams or brand new stories to be announced through these games. And now, in the Seed series, a new story called Seed Recollection has been revealed in G Generation Eternal. In this story, the main character Kira pilots a Gundam called DRAGOON Strike. Today, we are going to take a closer look at this DRAGOON Strike. What kind of mobile suit could it be? The first Alliance Brand War, which broke out between Cosmic Era 70 and 72, finally came to an end. One of the mobile suits that played a legendary role in this war was the GATX-1 105 Strike. Kira piloted the Strike Gundam and amazed both the Earth Alliance and the Zakt with its incredible performance. As the war intensified, Kira switched from the Strike Gundam to the Freedom Gundam. After that, the Strike Gundam was given to Mulo Flavor as its pilot. In the final stages of the war, the Strike Gundam was defeated by the Providence Gundam and was severely damaged. After that, the Strike Gundam somehow managed to retreat, but in order to protect the battleship Archangel, it took a direct hit from a positron cannon and was heavily damaged. Some time passed after the tragic explosion of the Strike Gundam. When acting Supreme Council Chairwoman Eileen Canberra Brandt called for a ceasefire, Lois and her crew began rescuing the wounded and searching for survivors. Kira was rescued by Adran and Kagali. The Strike Gundam was also recovered, but Mulo Frave was nowhere to be found in the cockpit. Though devastated by the loss of a valued comrade, the Archangel and the Eternal retreated from the battlefield, taking the recovered Strike Gundam with them. They were certainly heroes who had helped end the war, but from the point of view of the official military organizations, they were considered pirates operating outside the official command. That's why they had to hide from both the Earth Alliance and the Zaft. The war had ended, but true peace had not yet arrived. Lars and her group understood that they were the only ones capable of responding immediately to any situation that might reignite the conflict. Therefore, Kira searched for a new weapon to fight with. Although Kira hated war, he deeply wanted to protect the world, and to do so he needed the power to fight. The recovered Strike Gundam was rebuilt by incorporating parts from the Strike Rouge and replacing worn components with new ones, effectively bringing it back to life. However, in terms of responsiveness and durability, its performance was pushed to the limits of what had been assumed during its original design. While it could not match Kira's incredible piloting skills, now among the highest in the world, the most powerful mobile suit available to him at the time was the DRAGOON Strike. Its phase shift armor was configured using the same data from the Strike Gundam that Kira had piloted. Because of this, the team often referred to this Gundam as Strike Rouge, but its color scheme was the same as the original Strike Gundam. Due to the large number of parts taken from the Strike Rouge, the head camera is the same green color, which stands out as a distinctive feature. Some fans jokingly referred to the famous line from the Seed story, "Your eye color is different," when talking about the DRAGOON Strike. The model number painted on its forehead is also MBF 03 after the MBF 02 of the Strike Rouge. The Freedom Gundam was also repaired in Nord, but at this point it seems that the Strike Gundam was restored first. The new striker pack equipped with the DRAGOON Strike is called the DRAGOON Striker. It was developed because Kira, after experiencing combat with the Providence Gundam, wanted to test the DRAGOON system himself. Surprisingly, it wasn't an idea proposed by the engineers. It was Kira himself who took the lead in adopting this weapon. The DRAGOON system was the weapon that took Frey Austa's life, and it brought back painful memories for Kira as well. Nevertheless, he preferred reason over emotion and suggested the system be used because of its overwhelming effectiveness. It is a weapon that appears to place a great strain on Kira's mind as it prioritizes rationality over emotion. In Sea Destiny, Gilbert Durano described Kira as the ultimate soldier. And in Seed Freedom, Lois expressed concern that Kira's kindness might one day break his spirit. From this perspective, the DRAGOON Striker can also be seen as a reflection of Kira's inner fragility. The DRAGOON Striker was designed by engineers in Europe with the assistance of the secretive organization known as the Factory. Its design is based on prototype Striker Pack data intended for use in the DRAGOON system within the Earth Alliance. During this time, the Earth Alliance was developing a mobile armor called the Pilgrim Day that used the DRAGOON system, but it's unclear if any data from the Pilgrim Day was actually used. The DRAGOON Striker was developed as a more advanced weapon than the Earth Federation's Gunbarrel Striker. It featured a fully self-contained DRAGOON system that operated without the use of wires. However, during the design phase, it became clear that the Strike Gundam's generator couldn't provide enough power to fully support the DRAGOON Striker. As a result, a removable battery pack was added to make up for the shortfall. Also, the DRAGOON system wasn't designed to be used all at once. The design assumed that each DRAGOON would be used individually. One would return before the next was launched. However, in the game's battle scenes, the DRAGOONs are often shown launching at the same time. This can be seen as a dramatic gameplay effect, but it's not necessarily inaccurate to interpret it as Kira activating all units at once when facing particularly powerful enemies. With this system completed, the DRAGOON Strike gained impressive offensive power compared to other mobile suits of its generation. And thanks to Kira's experience with the DRAGOON system, he was later able to easily handle the Super DRAGOON system while piloting the Strike Freedom. Let's take a look at the DRAGOON Strike's weaponry. There are no scenes in the game that show him using his head-mounted Balkan guns or the armor Schneider knives at his waist. However, this seems to be a balancing decision for gameplay purposes, and it's very likely that these weapons are still equipped. Since the unit was designed as a mobile suit for the old military, it's also possible that it can use the standard org weapons. First, we have the Beam Saber. This is mounted on the DRAGOON Striker. While the technical details have not been officially revealed, it's likely the same type of weapon that was mounted on the Elu Striker. Next is the Beam Rifle. This is also the same model used by the Strike Gundam and the Strike Rouge. Then there's the DRAGOON system. It uses a total of 3 DRAGOONs. 2 of them are slim units with a single cannon each. The third is a larger unit with 3 beam cannons. Beam weapons were still under development in this era and consumed a considerable amount of energy. Each slim DRAGOON consumes 1 battery pack after firing 2 shots. The larger DRAGOON uses up 2 battery packs after firing 3 shots. Of course, this is probably just a visual effect used in the game to enhance the experience in reality. The units may be capable of firing more shots. This DRAGOON system does not appear to have the Beam Saber generating feature found on the Strike Freedom. With the inclusion of the DRAGOON system, Kira gained the ability to single-handedly neutralize multiple enemies without destroying their cockpits, allowing for a fighting style more in line with his ideals. What happened to the DRAGOON Striker after the battle? The director of the Seed series, Mitsuo Fukuda, actually made a brief comment about this on his X account. Some people may have misunderstood. In many cases, the anime director is not involved in the development of the games. I think the appeal of games is different from that of anime. Even if certain elements are different from the main anime, I'd be happy if people enjoy the world of the games. If a director is involved in the development of a game, his or her name will appear in the credits. This comment implies that DRAGOON Strike was made specifically for the game, and that there may be discrepancies between the game's content and the official setting of the anime. However, since we've come this far, let's think about how it might fit into the continuity of the anime. Please keep in mind that everything from here on out is just my personal interpretation. It's possible that after the battle, the DRAGOON Striker was preserved as spare parts for the Strike Rouge. There is a concept in the Universal Century where the mobile suit operation requires spare parts equal to 3 full units. This idea often appears in spin-offs as well. For example, in Zeta Gundam it's said that the Gundam Mark II was powered by parts from 3 separate units. When a machine defected from the Titans and joined the Euro, she brought the Gundam Mark II to the Argomer. However, Eme did not continue to operate the Gundam Mark II. Instead, she operated mass-produced mobile suits like the Rick Diaz. This is because the Gundam Mark II she brought with her was dismantled and stored as spare parts. Of course, that was in the Universal Century, and we can't say for sure if the same is true in the Cosmic Era. But in order to quickly repair mobile suits damaged in battle and return them to the front lines, having spare parts on hand would be essential. So with that in mind, it makes sense to think that in the world of Cosmic Era, keeping spare parts on hand for mobile suits is common practice. Based on this logic, I interpret that the DRAGOON Striker was dismantled and stored as spare parts for the Strike Rouge. It's also natural to think that the DRAGOON Striker served as the basis for research that led to the equipment used by the Strike Freedom and the Akatsuki. That said, this is just my personal opinion. There is always a chance that the DRAGOON Striker could reappear in a future story. Fukuda once mentioned in a magazine interview that they considered including the Destiny Impulse in Seed Freedom because of its popularity, but ultimately decided against it because it was too difficult to portray its individuality in battle scenes, especially alongside the Destiny Gundam. The Destiny Impulse is also a mobile suit that came out of a spin-off. Whether or not the DRAGOON Strike will appear in the future, and it will probably depend on how much popularity it can gain. The appearance of the DRAGOON Strike surprised many fans. Some were even confused by the name DRAGOON Striker. That's because it has the exact same name as the striker pack equipped by the Nyx Providence Gundam, which appears in a spin-off. The organization that developed the Nyx Providence Gundam, known as Librarian, is a secret group, so secret that most people don't even know it exists. So it's quite possible that the common name is just a coincidence. The pilot of the Nyx Providence Gundam, Player Reverie, is a highly skilled and powerful pilot. However, he does not see conflict. Even though he holds the position of Supreme Commander within the Librarian, his true goal is to neutralize the organization from within. It's quite interesting that the equipment used by these characters, both of whom do not want to fight to stop fighting, is called the Dragoon Striker. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. See you next time on our mobile suit analysis program.